Good evening everyone, it is Liam the Deaf Doom Metalhead, and today is a special video, but it's also a contest entry for a fella called John at Rock and Metal Plus. He has 500 subscribers, well over that now, and he's doing a contest to kind of talk about metal and his just love of everything on YouTube, really, with shout outs and stuff like that. So I've gone a little bit different. I've gone for my top 5 epic doom metal albums. So the video is essentially about epic doom, because I absolutely love epic doom. I don't really talk about it enough because it's really hard to kind of find new bands these days, especially in the epic doom style. I mean, I've got a fair few already in my collection, but there's not many new ones come out. You can easily find Death Doom, Death, you know, Black and Death, all that kind of thing. But epic doom is a bit hit and miss for me. But these are my top 5, and when I ordered these, I didn't even realise they're also in date order. So the newest one starts at number 5, right down to number 1. But that wasn't intentional. It's just when I've discovered these bands. So yeah, we'll crack on, and then I'll leave the shout outs in the description of the video so you can go check out other YouTubers, so give them a like, subscribe and all that bollocks. But most importantly, go check out John's channel if you haven't. I will post it above my head and in the description. Now, number 5 is a newer album that came out in 2019, but since it came out I've listened to it near enough every other month of the year since it came out in 2019. It is an absolute stonewall classic. I've bragged about this album so much since I started doing YouTube when lockdown was a thing, and that is Germany's Fvneral Fvkk with Carnal Confessions. Now this is a concept album, and the band kind of dress like Catholic priests, and they sing about the kind of the horrors of the Catholic religion and what went on with the abuse of children between priests and nuns abusing children, all that kind of thing, where you kind of, it's all kind of come out in the news in the last 6 or 7 years. But these guys here are a German band based in, I want to say Hamburg, but that could be dead wrong. But they're in a mixture of bands like Office, Void Ceremony or something. No, I don't know what they're called, Void something. And they're a great band. But these guys that have formed this side project is kind of in the epic doom, so it's very doomy, very Candlemass-esque in the kind of big riffs. But Simon's vocals on there are absolutely stellar. You've got the odd growl, but this is purely all clean sun. It's a fucking amazing album, and I can't stress. I mean, all these are 10 out of 10 albums I'm going to show you, and that's why they're my top 5 epic doom albums. And this is amazing, and it's a new album, but I have listened to this a lot. So if you've never checked this out, I'll obviously leave a link below, and you can tell me how amazing it is as well. So yeah, number 5, Fvneral Fvkk from Germany. Now this one is one I discovered in the days, well these next 3 actually are all discovered in the days of my LimeWire days, when I was using my mum and dad's PC and I discovered music that way. Because this whole contest is based on your top 5 gateway albums into your specific genres, and epic doom was a genre I discovered purely for my love of Black Sabbath and Trouble. And then when I started searching sites like Last.fm, where I used to kind of compare other bands for you so you could check them out, and this was one of them. And that is the band Scold, and this is their debut album called The Will of the Gods is Great Power, and this came out in '97 and is their only full-length album. I think they have since reformed years and years later, and I believe they are writing new music. But this band were based really on the vocalist who sadly died just before this album I think actually came out, and it is incredible. It's very epic, very doomy, and it has this kind of weird rustic kind of charm to it because it's underproduced. It's not in a big fancy studio. It's got this real rawness to it. And being a Russian band, I'd imagine they didn't have fancy studios at that time they could visit and stuff like that. They didn't travel abroad or anything like that. I think it was 5 lads, and it's got twin harmonies, but it's got that real lo-fi-ness to it, so it sounds really raw, very minimalistic drums, and then the vocals are soaring high, and they kind of don't make sense in some parts because obviously the translation from him using English, it doesn't really work in some parts, but it does, if that makes any sense. It sounds weird because you speak English, but you know also it sounds epic. And yeah, it's just an amazing, amazing album. My favourite track on here is probably Eternal Stone. Yeah, it's probably my favourite track off this one. I absolutely love this album. So if you've never checked out Scold, please do. Number 3 is an English band that are amazing, and they sadly, I think they are still going, but they're not the band they used to be. And this one came out in '94, and I believe this is their debut album as well, and that is Yorkshire's Solstice with Lamentations. This is my third favourite epic doom metal album ever. This is fucking amazing. The riff work on it, it's got very much dual guitar harmonies, like in the vein of like Thin Lizzy, and how they harmonise. And there's a picture of the band. I think, is it Rich Walker? Is the original guy in here? Yeah, Rich Walker. He's the only original member left of the band. And it is his band, really. Amazing, amazing band. Very much that melodic kind of doom where it's all the vocals sing along with the guitars. So you've got these harmonies and the vocals sing along with it. But you've got that chunkiness and the epicness of the riffs, big drums, and you've got these like breakout moments where you've got some nice acoustic passages. And it kind of ties together to give you this kind of almost like fantasy feel where you can escape and you're in a, like ancient land, if that makes any sense. And the artwork really suits that kind of feel of the album as well. Absolutely killer band. I love this band to death. So yeah, Solstice, number 3. Number 2 is some American epic doom that they are actually just reformed to the last month or so to do a festival this year. And the vocalist on here is probably hands down my favourite vocalist of all time. At this period anyway, and that is Solitude Aeturnus with their second album Beyond the Crimson Horizon. This came out in '92, and Mr. Robert Lowe there, but this band is John Perez. He's the guy that formed the band. Started off as a thrash band with a different name, then changed it to this and started playing doom. And then you got Mr. Robert Lowe here, who's made killing in vocal appearances over the last couple of years. He's on so many different albums for different bands. But this album for me was their strongest album. I mean, the first one everyone loves, and I do love that one as well. But this one just has a bit more bite to it. It's got a bit more oomph in the riffs. It's a bit faster. The drums are very double kick heavy, and it's got that real nasty headbanging vibe to it. Like Black Castle is still hands down probably one of my favourite metal songs ever. I listened to that song a lot over the years since I discovered it, way back when I was a teenager. And I've never looked back. I absolutely adore this band. Rob's vocals are very high, and he's an amazing vocalist. And they know how to write a really hooky track, like really big riffs. And he belts out the choruses, especially on this one. I mean, every single song on here I love. And it's just heavy and it's epic. The solos are wicked, really technical. I love it. So yeah, number 2 pick, Solitude Aeturnus. And number 1 was the band that kind of inspired this whole genre for me. Like the first time I ever heard this album, I was heavy on the Black Sabbath, especially the Dio era Black Sabbath at the time, and then I got recommended by this search engine this album, and I used to listen to it on the bus on my iPod Classic, and it changed my life forever. And that is Tales of Creation by Candlemass. This came out in 1989, which is the year I was born, so I was very late to the party. I didn't listen to this until maybe 2004, 2005 when I first heard this. And it's just fucking amazing. Like, it's not even their best album, really. If you compare it song by song to other albums, you could easily say the debut is a classic. The second album, I forget when Ancient Dreams came out. That's either the 4th one or the 3rd one. I can't remember. But this is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing album. I love this album so much. I mean, the title track is what got me through the door with Candlemass. That chugging riff. It's just epic. I can still play that now, years later after. I haven't played it for a long time, but I could still play it on the guitar. Somewhere in Nowhere, Through the Infinity Halls of Death, Under the Oak, but that's a recorded version, so it doesn't really count because that was on the debut. But either way, if you've never ever heard of this album, I'll be amazed if you haven't. But if you know, go check it out. I mean, it's amazing. Candlemass are amazing, especially with Messiah. There's a totally different vibe. And his belting vocals and his stage presence and massive hair, and it sold for me. Like, if you're a big Ozzy Osbourne fan, you could relate him to Ozzy Osbourne almost with his stage antics and how he came across. And it's just amazing, absolutely amazing band. So yeah, so that is my top 5 epic doom albums for John at Rock and Metal Plus. Again, please subscribe to his channel if you've never checked it out and you watch my shit. I will leave a link above my head. And also, there's 5 people in the description you need to go check out on YouTube if you haven't already. I'm going to go now spin these and chug on some beer. So in the meantime, take care, and I'll speak to you guys in the comment section. Cheers!